I'm Robert Riggins. I'm an assistant hitting coach, first base coach, and catching coach for the Riggins. College, I was diagnosed with my first and two heart defects. So I started coaching at 18 at my old high school as a pitching coach. And then I coached for about 15 years in the state of New Mexico as a high school coach. I wanted to become a college coach, probably in 10 years, and applying for jobs. I never even got an interview. And so I decided if I got a master's in athletic administration that maybe people would take it more seriously. So I did my master's in athletic administration, and I did my thesis research in hitting physics, and I just posted the data online on Twitter, just thinking kind of naively that maybe a college coach would read it and think, maybe this guy knows what he's doing, maybe we'll give him a shot. And after I posted it, about a week later, I had several major league teams direct message me asking if I'd be interested in interviewing. So then I got hired by the Brewers in 2020, convinced my wife to quit her x-ray job, and I quit my teaching job, and we moved to Phoenix, and we were there for 10 days, and then COVID hit, and my position was cut. And so we went from both being employed to neither one of us had a job, and we were living in an apartment we couldn't afford. So we had to move in with her parents, and we moved to Amarillo, Texas, where I got the highest paying job I could find, which was a butcher at the grocery store. So it was hard to go from getting your dream job, working in professional baseball, to cleaning animal parts off of industrial meat grinders and saws. So I did that for about a year to a year and a half, and then I got hired by the Giants to go work down in the Dominican, and I was the hitting coach down there for the Dominican Summer League team for 2 years. Since I was a teacher in New Mexico, I worked with a lot of kids that only spoke Spanish, so the idea of going and working with Latin American players that only spoke Spanish, I mean, it wasn't that much of a foreign concept, so I felt pretty comfortable with the idea. But yeah, I'm really grateful for the Giants to give me an opportunity. It was my first day in camp in January in 2020, and our hitting coordinator was asking what I'd been up to, Jacob Cruz, and I'd explained everything to him, and he said, okay, well, we're gonna call you Butcher from now on. So for the rest of that year, whenever I was introduced, Cruz would make it a point to tell me to call me Butcher, and the name just kind of stuck. And so even when we went down to the Dominican, he told the kids to call me Carnicero, and so that name kind of stuck as well. It's kind of cool to have a name like that. Yeah, so Jacob Cruz is the reason I have that name. The biggest thing that I've learned that I think has served me well in the coaching realm is you have to develop a relationship with the human being first. Otherwise, they're really not going to care about the subject. Like, the subject's almost irrelevant. You have to make that connection with the human first and then move on from there. And like, they just need to know that you care about them as a person. When I was a young coach, I made the whole relationship about baseball. And then I learned later on that they saw it as I only cared about them as a baseball player, rather than just asking how their day was and, you know, like learning to read body language. So that's something I think's helped a lot this year, is understanding the type of day people have had and knowing what's going on in their lives outside of the field. And that's kind of helped you understand how to approach them on the field. I think the support system is great that they have here. Like, we have mental health that comes in, sleep specialists that comes in, nutritionists. Like, I think it's a great kind of stress relief and then a lot of burden taken off their shoulders, because they have so many different support systems in different areas now. I know, like, for me, one of the biggest supports that I've had has been my wife, knowing that she's taking care of stuff at home, and she's very supportive of the fact that I'm gone 6-7 months out of the year. So yeah, I think when you have the systems in place like we do to take care of things off the field, it really makes it easier for them to focus on playing. I think at this level, because we play so many games compared to other levels I've been to, you really have more teachable moments inside the game itself, rather than where your high school, majority of your time is spent in practice. The problems and the mistakes a lot of times are still the same, but at this level, it's just on a lot smaller of a scale. And people are going to take advantage of it more, as opposed to like in the DSL, a lot of times a kid would make a mistake, but the opponent might not recognize it. and it might take longer for it to click, but just being patient and allowing them to figure it out. They might not catch it the first time, the second time, or even the seventh time, but eventually they'll start to recognize the situation, and that's where being patient and allowing them to recognize it, because you yelling and screaming does not help the situation. You really just have to take a seat back and just let them kind of figure it out and facilitate. That part's new to me. I know, it's tough on guys mentally. I think that's where, as a leader, just being the same person every day and giving them some level of consistency of knowing that you're going to be there every day, you're going to be available, and then helping them control the controllables. Like, you can control the amount of effort that you give. You can control your emotions, that type of stuff. We might not be able to control where we end up, but we can control the journey along the way. And I think just having guys realize that you're really just one event away from everything changing, and so just staying consistent with your effort, because you just never know. You might be on a totally different roster next week. So putting yourself in the best position possible to be successful and making sure that everyone around you is successful gives everyone the best possible outcomes. Biggest lessons, I'd say, definitely the patience. And then you're always going to see something you've never seen before. Even this year, watching Donnie Darks get 2 wins in Reno on a mound, there's always just something that you would never expect that's going to happen. I'd say selfishly, I enjoy throwing mixed BP. Something I wanted to do since I was a little kid is to pitch to major leaguers, and I get to do that now. It just looks a little bit different than I thought it would. But just other people being successful and watching them go to the major leagues and knowing that you were a part of that process, even if it was something as little as putting the ball on the tee. I think maybe people probably sometimes underestimate the amount of work that goes into this. Having to throw batting practice every day, and we don't just show up to the game and go coach first base. There's a little bit of work involved, not quite as much as I did as a butcher, but there's still quite a bit of work that goes into it, and we're here with the players every single day, every step of the way.